For sure. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Perfect. It's so great to connect with everybody here. I've put a presentation together that I'm working very hard to find that balance between giving you enough information so that you've really got like the things you need to go ahead and move forward with the plan, but also trying not to overwhelm the crap out of you too, because I know the things that I'm very comfortable with are things that are scary for a lot of people and aren't talked about. So I'm going to go through a presentation. I'm going to share with you exactly what I do with my business finances. We're going to talk a little about the personal side too, because as entrepreneurs, the two are very, very closely linked. And like I said, if you have questions, please ask away as soon as they come to your mind. Oh, hold on. I forgot to share the screen first. Technical difficulties. There we go. So because of what I do and all the information that I help my clients with, I'm able to support them in a very unique way. And my focus has recently pivoted to helping neurodivergent service-based business owners to gain confidence in their finances and their business growth. There's some unique challenges with brains that function differently than quote unquote normal. And I know we're all different, but some unique challenges that leaning into learning more about myself recently, it's helped me to understand why the things that I do work. And I've really been focusing on sharing those with others recently. So I never had any plans to be a business owner. I was just head down, working my way at a company that I had been with for almost 17 years when the universe went, no. So in 2017, I got fired very unexpectedly from really a career that I thought like, you know what, counting down years to retirement from even hitting 40. So looking back, I can really see that the universe was giving me whispers that it was time to leave, like the good old quarterly cry in the bathroom because I was overwhelmed. Like these were signs that I was just ignoring because I got paid well, I got a good amount of vacation, and I was comfortable and confident in what I was doing. At the time, we were living paycheck to paycheck and really not managing our money at all because I didn't know any other way. We weren't taught about money, neither my husband or I, growing up. And a lot of things in our households really contributed to us not having that financial knowledge. Today, I am so thankful and grateful for that day that somebody decided it was my last day. It led me to the path that I was really meant to be on. And when I look back at the last 5 years, so it was 5 years ago in July that I got fired, I could not be more grateful because I don't know that I would have ever found my path. And if I had found my path, that I would have had the courage to leap into it in a full-time capacity. As I mentioned earlier, I've recently been leaning into learning more about myself and identifying with so many ADHD traits. Narrowing this down as my business focus is really like, it's got me excited, and we all go through periods of our business where we may not be as excited, and this has renewed excitement for me in my business. This picture that I'm sharing with you is a picture of me after I hiked Machu Picchu in Peru. It took 3 days of hard hiking to get there, and this trip with a bunch of strangers in a tour group was really my aha moment. Before this trip, I had been doing practice interviews, sending out my resumes with a career coach. But this trip really opened my eyes to the fact that people vacation for the experience, whereas I had always been vacationing to escape my life. I literally had to leave the country to not get phone calls from my coworkers and my employer. So this really opened my eyes to what was possible, and what the reality is that people can make a good income and do what they love and not need to take a vacation to escape it. My philosophies around money are pretty broad. I believe that your money plan should get you excited. I don't subscribe to like the 50, 30, 20 rule or any specific rule that says you should only spend this much on this, because we're all individuals. And your plan needs to include things that you love and be aligned with and that are important to you. If you also love to travel and you have $0 every month going towards travel, that budget that you have isn't going to be sustainable. There's no one size fits all plan for your money. And that plan for your money really is about freedom and not restriction. So many people resist making a budget or implementing a plan for their money because their perception is it's all about restriction. So my mission is to help you and so many others get excited about the financial pieces of your life. And having a variable income can make looking at the financial part more scary, but I'm going to share with you today what I do to pay myself a consistent salary. So today I'm going to share about why having a budget is important, where to start on the business and personal side, how to turn your variable income into a consistent salary, proper planning for tax time, because as entrepreneurs, tax time can be really, really scary, especially coming off of, really good years in your business. That tends to mean a much higher tax bill, which I think needs to be needs to be celebrated more, because a high tax bill means you have a profitable revenue generating business. And oftentimes there's people out there giving advice around, well, if you do this and do this, you can have write-offs, and it can be like your bottom line can be reduced and your tax bill can be reduced, but that still ends up with with fewer dollars in your pocket. We're going to talk about planning for large business expenses and exactly how I manage my business finances. To compare me when I started my business to where I am now, it's a pretty dramatic change. In the beginning, I knew I needed to save for taxes, but I didn't know the best way or even where to start. Today, I save a specific percentage of my income each month to go specifically towards my taxes. Early on in my business, I was paying myself randomly for my business. I looked back not too long ago, and there was like this random payment here, and 1 month it'd be 2 payments, and it was really sporadic and made no sense. Fast forward to today, and I pay myself every 2 weeks with a regular salary and have indicators to know when it's time to give myself a raise. Initially, I was scared to invest in myself and my business because that was money that was coming out of the money that I could pay myself. It was all coming out of the same pot, and that impacted my decisions on investing in myself. Today, I save to invest in my business each month. The money that I've invested has most certainly helped me grow my business. When I first started, while I did have a separate account for my business, I had one account for my business, and it was trying to do all of the things. Today, I have multiple accounts with clear purposes that help me easily see where my business stands in all aspects of my business. Okay, I know these are not fun words. The core of setting up all of the systems that we're going to talk about today and that I use to help me manage my variable income are 2 B words that get a bad name: budgets and bookkeeping. Very often it's the outliers that love these things, and myself personally, I love the first B word, but the second B word is like watching paint dry, and I avoided it for a long time in my business until I absolutely had to. Okay, let's start with the first B word, the budget. I promise you, it's not a bad word. It's just so misunderstood. So if the budget word has a lot of negativity in your head, call it something else. Call it a spending plan. Call it your financial freedom plan. Call it something that actually gets you excited. So being an entrepreneur, you need to have plans for your personal and your business finances. And on the personal side, both sides, a budget helps you clearly see where you want your money to go. As a business owner, it helps to see how much revenue you need to generate through your business to cover your business and personal expenses. We need to be able to step back and look at the big picture. The work you put into building your budgets can open your eyes to where you've been spending your money. So first we have to see where it has been going, and then look at that with a different lens and see where we want it to go that's most valuable for you on the business and the personal side. I'm a firm believer that we all need a plan for our money to be successful, and that plan really gives you so much clarity. Taking action to manage your money sends a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive more. The unique thing that we have as entrepreneurs is that we're not exchanging like, we're not going to work at a place for an hour to get X amount of money. We have this unique ability to increase our income. And I see it so often in my self-employed clients that when they invest the time to improve their finances, they see their business revenue increase. And I strongly believe that that's because the university is like, oh, Sherry's managing her money well. We can give her more now because it's not going to mess her up at income tax time. Have I convinced you yet? Budgets are really the key financial tool to making your money concerns go away. The more money you make, the worse it is without a solid plan. So if we just look at tax time, if you make $50,000 in your business, you're going to owe this much in tax. If you make 100, you're going to owe even more in tax. So if you have 100K a year and you're not saving for taxes and planning accordingly, that's going to make tax time get even bigger and hairier and scarier for you. But where do you even start? Right? You're like, yes, Sherry, I know I need to save for taxes, but how do I do that? You need to think about a method for creating a budget that works best for you. There, again, you're an individual. There's no one size fits all plan. Maybe it's pen and paper and a fancy notebook. Maybe it's a spreadsheet. Maybe it's a calendar and a whiteboard. Find what options work for you and start there and just tweak it as you go. Review your bank and credit card statements and start mapping out where your money has been going over the last 2 or 3 months. So a lot of different things can impact this. If you have a lot of seasonality in your business, you might want to like pick the 2 to 3 months throughout different seasons of your business. Really breaking down your spending to know where has it been going so that you can build a plan that is aligned with where you want it to go. Take that money and break it down into categories that make sense for you. It has to make sense for you. If you're using another template that somebody else has built and it doesn't align with the things that make sense to you, it's not going to work. Now it's time to make that pivot and build a plan of where you want your money to go every month. And my biggest recommendation is to be patient with yourself. You're going to get off track. You're going to overspend. You're going to like screw up. Don't let those times make you stop. Use those to inspire you to kind of get back on the horse and keep going and make a change to your budget to know, okay, like I expected to spend this much in groceries, but it was this much. How do I adjust my plan so it's more realistic for the life I want to live? The biggest thing that I hear, okay, Sherry, I have a budget, that's great, but I can't stay on track with it. So how do you stay on track with your budget every month? You've got a budget, if you feel good about it, but at the end of the month, your spending continues to be off track of your plan. What do? First, this is very common. As our time is limited today, I'm going to focus on just one area of the personal budget that tends to get people off track the most. And this is a category that I call day-to-day spending. So these are the more frequent transactions, often smaller, but they happen quite frequently. So things like groceries, gas, eating out, coffee, all of those things fall in a category called day-to-day spending. This is a typical area that it's the most difficult to manage because so many of these things are needs in your budget, right? You need to eat, you need to put gas in your car to get from point A to point B. To stay on track with this, there's one quick system that I use personally and I help my clients use, and it's to look at your budget, determine what you want to go in this category and how much you want to spend for a specific period of time. Maybe it's monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever makes the most sense for you. Pick a time frame and pick the amount based on your budget that goes into that time frame, and find a way to separate this amount from your other money so that you know this is the money for you to spend on those things. Cash is a way that I recommended a lot more before than I do today. Technology just makes cash very difficult to use for this, but you could break it up and have some one way and some cash. Say coffees is one thing that you know typically tends to like get you off track. Maybe use cash for that if you're going through the drive-through or something like that. Another option is to set up a separate account for your day-to-day spending that has its own debit card or a different button on the machine that you're spending. The benefit to this is that it allows you to like use use debit, not have to carry cash around, and it makes things a whole lot easier. Another option that does require the most diligence is to designate a specific credit card for this category. If you go with the credit card, you really have to pay attention. So if you want to spend $500 every 2 weeks on these items, you need to be paying attention so that you're not going over that. The cash and the separate account with a specific number in it is going to give you a hard stop where your credit card isn't going to. So that's why it does require a lot more diligence. And whatever method you decide to go with, make the money move there based on the frequency that you want it to. So if you're paying yourself once a month, move money there once a month for the whole month period. And then that's all you have to focus on when it comes to spending in that category. This works for a lot of reasons. A nice one is that it stabilizes the day-to-day spending amount. So think of all the transactions that you have in a month that would fall into this category. And it's like it's hitting your bank account multiple times throughout the week and throughout the month. So doing this transfers those multiple transactions into consistent transactions. So maybe it's once every 2 weeks, once a month. It's a lot less for you to worry about in the overall picture when it comes to your budget. With the Clear Plan, it ensures that your fixed expenses are all covered, and there's really less worry about where every dollar from that account goes, and it doesn't require any tracking. If you're putting $500 into a separate account and 1 week your groceries are higher but you don't get gas, and the next week your groceries are average and you get gas but you go out for dinner, all that matters is that you're using that money to cover the needs of your life. And if there's money left over, which is very common when you're first implementing this, because it changes how intentional you have to be with your finances and managing that account. So does anybody have any questions about the personal side, personal budgets? Because we're going to pivot into the business side more now. So on the business side, when it comes to making a budget, one of the great resources, depending on how long you've been in business, are your previous year's income taxes, because it allows you to see where you spent money in those years in your business. And using this is similar, like we did on the personal side, using where you've been spending as a starting point for your business budget and adjusting it so it's aligned with how you want to spend money in your business. There's some things that aren't optional in every business, but being able to look at those things that, maybe you could have spent less in one area, so you had more for a course or something like that you wanted to invest in. It's really important to have a budget on the business and personal side, because that's going to help you implement the strategies that we're going to talk about soon. Now for the second B word, bookkeeping. Like I said previously, my opinion, the much lower fun B word. It's definitely not fun, but it is necessary. Okay, I say it's not fun, but maybe you think it's fun. So if you think it's fun, which I have come across people like that, congratulations. Lots of people are avoiding this like crazy in their businesses. Implementing a good system and staying on top of your bookkeeping will make your life and running your business much easier. Feeling more confident and less stressed with your finances comes down to clarity. And so many business owners wait for tax time to figure out how their business did financially. And I really want to encourage you to flip that and be on top of your numbers and your bookkeeping so that you know at least monthly where your business is financially, because that helps you with so many other things. It helps you make decisions in your business, and it helps you know, like maybe you need to hit the gas a little more to hit towards your goals for the year. Like you really need to know month to month what your numbers are. So how to set yourself up for bookkeeping success. A separate credit card and accounts for your business are key. Mixing business and personal, it creates such a mess, and it creates things that you miss, and it makes the bookkeeping part a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Find a system that works for you. Wave or QuickBooks are great programs that link to your business account and credit card, and make sure that you don't miss anything when you're diligently using your business account and your credit card. Using a spreadsheet is also a good option, especially when you're starting out, but you are more prone to missing items. It requires you to make sure you have those receipts, or you're scanning through your account to make sure that you catch everything.
Sherry, I have a quick question for you.
Yep.
You had mentioned knowing your numbers on a
Mhm.
monthly basis.
Yep.
Which numbers are you referring to that you should know on a monthly basis?
Oh, that is a great question. There's three numbers that are higher level. Your monthly income. So what did your business bring in the month? Your monthly expenses, and then what was your profit for the month? So taking your income minus your expenses, it gives you your profit. So this gives you decision making power on the health of your business. And we were talking before we hopped on about how celebrating successes on social media have become a lot more common. Like the 10K balloons or the 100K balloons. Like, it's great to celebrate those things, but I guarantee at least 9 out of 10 times those balloons are for what your monthly income was. And it's great to celebrate your income, but if you had a 10K month and your expenses were 12K, like, you actually had a loss for that month. And it's great to celebrate your income, but really the indicator of the health of your business is, what is that bottom line? What was your monthly profit? And there's going to be months in your business where you make a conscious decision to know, like, I'm investing hard in my business in this program, but this program is a 6-month program, but it's going to hit the credit card this month. So it helps you make decisions on like the month to month, but also like a year to date in your business, because you're able to look at those numbers very clearly. And so many people are hesitant to invest in their business. But one of the things when it comes to bookkeeping that I want to encourage you to do, if it's something you avoid, if it's something that feels overwhelming, if it's something that you look at it and you just like don't know where to start because it's not your area of expertise, get some help. I don't encourage you to like hire help and completely like sign out of the financial side of your business. You still have to have your finger on the pulse of your business, and that's important when you choose who that help is. Like, I outsource my bookkeeping because I don't like it. Every month my bookkeeper, she's sending me questions, she's sending me reports. I trust her to no end, which is the most important part when it comes to a bookkeeper. But I see so many people, you know, January, February, like through to April, or even into June. It's so common to see people sharing on social media, like a table covered with receipts or the shoebox that they're taking to their accountant. And it's like, oh, it's painful for me to see, because I know the stress that those people are under, to be like, oh, I hope I made a profit in my business this year. And it's like this box of secrets. But we really need to take the lid off of that box and look into it on a month-to-month basis. And when it comes to getting help too, like, that time that you're taking in your business to do your books, it can be time that you're bringing in revenue into your business. So really look at that. If you charge, if you have an hourly model in your business, if you charge X per hour and your bookkeeper is charging this much per hour, it really makes sense to get that off your plate so that you can have more hours that you're able to bring revenue into your business. I know bookkeeping isn't fun. I already touched on a lot of this, I'm sure. Not being on top of your business finances is costing you time and, more importantly, money. It's costing you money because handing your accountants a box of receipts to go through, they are charging you so much more than if you were to like send them a spreadsheet or a report from your bookkeeping software. Trying to remember what a receipt was from January of this year, next April or June, it's difficult. And we all know receipts fade. And if $100 receipt fades and we can't see it and we can't track it, know what it is, that's $100 that you're paying taxes on that you really shouldn't be. Not knowing where you stand financially in your business is holding you back from having all the information that you need to make decisions. Making decisions, especially when it comes to investing in your business, can be huge to change the trajectory of where your business is going. The space and time that you are spending avoiding your taxes each year is not only making you less present in your life and your business, but think of the stress that it's adding to your life. So the best time to make changes is now. The sooner the better. If it's something you've been wanting to outsource and it makes sense for your business, I want to encourage you to start looking. A bookkeeper would much rather hear from you in October or November than in January or February to talk about all of 2022's taxes. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the system that I use to pay myself a salary, make sure my business expenses are covered, get clarity on when I can invest in my business, and get excited for tax time. And I'm not even lying. My accountant hates me because I'm like, did you do it yet? Did you do it yet? Because I want to know what that bottom line in my business is as far as taxes owing. So the system that I use is a modified version of the book Profit First. I've got it right here. I love it to death. I've read it 2 or 3 times. I've listened to the audiobook at least twice. So have any of you read the book before? And if you have you implemented the system in your business? I see one hand. Was there, if you want to maybe unmute, was there anything, so did I see that you also implemented it in your business?
Yeah, I have it implemented, and I have all the separate accounts set up, and like monthly or bi-weekly, sorry, I just allocate money to those accounts based on the percentages that they've outlined in the book. So it really does help keep you on track. I like it. I feel organized.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's like it gives those dollars a job before you're just like looking at it going, I wonder what I should do with this money. I love. So are you on a consistent salary from your business as well?
Yeah. So when I first started, one of my mentors referred me to that book, and she's like, read that book. And I started it from the very beginning. So yeah, I like it.
I love it. Perfect. I love hearing that. I often hear times when people are, they've read it, but they haven't implemented it. And that like that barrier between is like, just start, please just start.
Yeah.
Quick
Perfect.
question.
Thank you so much for sharing.
As you guys are talking about multiple bank accounts, so are you like, I don't know, for me, it's like the business account has like a monthly fee on it. So are you paying monthly fees on each of your separate? Okay, so you're just doing that. Okay.
I am, yeah. I've even thought, sorry to jump in, but I even thought of looking at like, maybe I find an account with like a lower fee, because now I'm seeing all the fees add up month to month, and I'm like trying to weigh the pros and cons of it. Yeah.
And we can talk about that a little bit more too as we get into the specific accounts. But what I see in my business is that I pay for business checking accounts, but I'm not paying a fee for business savings accounts. So like finding the balance, but then like the savings accounts to transfer out of or to pay a bill out of, I'm paying a flat fee. So it's like sometimes it requires a little bit of like moving things around so that I'm avoiding some fees, but sometimes it's just like, so when I pay my like quarterly HST or income taxes out of my savings account, I do get charged a fee, but it's just easier for me to eat that fee than like remember to transfer the money from here to here and pay it out of there. So sometimes it's like paying the fee makes more sense than the extra work and like mental load that it's going to take.
Yeah, Sherry, as you were talking about the shoebox of receipts, I have my haunted Ziploc for this month, so I'm like ignoring it right now. Yeah.
Okay, full disclosure, I shared this with somebody last week, and they're like, oh my God, that made me feel better. We have a cottage, and we rent it out through like Airbnb and Vrbo for some of the summer, and so then I've got like double bookkeeping to do, and I've outsourced my business bookkeeping, but I could show you, I have a folder that's like this thick of different receipts. I've not touched my bookkeeping for my rental property this year. So it's like, it's good and bad, but it's going to encourage me to, I probably should share that on social media to get some accountability from people that I think are really invested in what I'm doing who really aren't, but it's totally normal. And it's just like, I know, so for me on the rental property, like the short-term rental, it's not impacting decisions I'm making in my business because I can't adjust the income because people are either going to rent it or they're not. So it's less important than for me, but it's definitely important, and I should probably get on that. So full disclosure, you're not alone.
Yeah.
On that note, it like now I feel like I'm almost missing something here. So I keep my receipts. I have the envelope, but it doesn't haunt me because I have my business credit card.
Yep.
and it's connected to QuickBooks.
Yep.
So it's all done electronically, and I just have the receipts because you need to, but I don't need to really go through it. So is that different than like what Tasha was just talking about and what you're talking about?
Well, so for me, I'm the same. I use QuickBooks. All of my receipts are uploaded. If I like, so what I try and do through my QuickBooks is I try and like snap pictures of my receipts so that I actually have copies of my receipts electronically, but I also keep, like, I have a folder for each year in my business too. So it's like, you still need to have those receipts. But for me, it's the same. Like, I know the transactions are accounted for.
Mhm.
And the only time you ever need those physical receipts is if you were to be audited and the CRA
Right.
is coming to go through your paperwork with a fine tooth comb. So it's like having those receipts with no system is like, it's undone. It's just looming there waiting for you to do something with it. But having those receipts with that QuickBooks system means
Gotcha.
that they're already tracked, they're accounted for, you know the health of your financial business. And it's,
Okay.
those are the two discrepancies.
I see. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I use my paper receipts to help with the reconciliation of like the digital one. So like when I give it to the bookkeeper, like who is my father, by the way. So when I give it to my dad, he uses his receipts and helps like do the reconciliation to know that all the payments are tracked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm using like the digital copies of that. And like my bookkeeper also gets my, I also download like my bank statement. So that's how she's reconciling that part of it. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, even if your business is seasonal, the truth is that you don't have to deal with the ups and downs of a variable income. You can do what you love and earn a consistent salary from your business, regardless of what your business structure is. I've been on a bi-weekly salary for my business since early 2019. I can clearly see when it's time to give myself a raise. And that consistent payment from my business makes it so much easier to be successful with managing my finances on the personal side. An added benefit to the system is I get a bonus each quarter. So at the end of each quarter, I'm paying myself a bonus. And I also get a fifth bonus after completing my income taxes and if I've saved too much. So this is where that excited for tax time comes in. So it's like, if I've saved this much for taxes, but I only have to pay this much, the difference becomes a fifth bonus for me in my business, which again, that's why I'm excited to get my accountant to crunch all the numbers pretty quickly for me. And again, I'm sure he hates that. Additional benefits of putting the system in place. It gives you clarity to make spending decisions in your business. So yes, you're going to have your bookkeeping to help you make decisions, but this gives you like real-time decisions in your business because you're logging in and you're looking at the different balances in your bank accounts to help you make decisions. It gives you freedom to customize a system that works for you. And you'll have peace of mind knowing that you'll be able to quickly see if anything is getting off track. So if your income account is going down and it's not like from the amount you're used to seeing, that can give you that like, oh, holy crap, how do I bring some additional revenue into my business or what's coming in my business to get that income account back up to what you're used to seeing. So specific details on the True Profit First system, I have modified it a bit and I will share those exact modifications with you. So setting up 3 accounts at Bank One, they do recommend having accounts at more than one bank, but a lot of that is because of the temptation factor. So they're recommending that you have your profit and your taxes at a separate bank because the theory is it's going to be less tempting for you, but for ease of use, and if you don't think you're going to be tempted to like steal from your income tax account, having it all together makes things a little easier. So they recommend 3 checking accounts, 1 for your income, 1 for your compensation, so your salary, your pay, and 1 for expenses, and 2 savings accounts. So 1 for your profit or your bonus, and 1 for your income tax savings. So the system is all based off of percentages instead of specific dollar figures. So it makes things a lot easier. If your accountant tells you you should be saving about $2,000 a month in your business for income taxes, well, that's great if you're having a 5K month, but if you're in a slower period and you have a 2K month and you're trying to save 2K for taxes, that gets you off the rails on the personal side pretty quickly. So a little more detail about what each account does. So the income account, it has two jobs. It collects your income, and it's the account that you do your transfers from. Your owner's pay account has one job. It's for you to pay yourself from. Your expenses covers all of your expenses, including paying for your business credit card. They all come out of this account. Your profit account is where your quarterly bonus comes from, and your tax account is where your income tax savings grow throughout the quarter or the year, depending on how often you're paying your taxes. Where do you start with your percentages? So it can feel overwhelming when you first start to use this system to know what percentages to start with. And it's important to remember that you're going to make some adjustments as you go. It's important that you get started, see how things are working, and less important that your percentages are perfect or right, because you're going to need to change them as your business grows anyways. And knowing your personal and business budget numbers are key to help you determining your percentages. So the how-to of the True Profit First system, all of your income goes into your income account. Then after your transfers, the account is empty. So it's just a pass-through account. It holds your money and then moves it to the other places. Then on the 10th and 25th of each month, take all that money in your income account and distribute it to your other accounts based on your percentages. At the same time, they recommend paying your salary by transferring from your salary account into your personal bank account. And at the same time, pay all of your bills from your expense account, including any balance on your business credit card. At the end of every quarter, transfer 50% of the amount in your profit account to your personal account as your quarterly bonus. And then if required quarterly, also pay your taxes from your income tax savings account. The system works for a lot of reasons, but it does take work to get it all set up and rolling in your business. So it's important for me to share why this system works so well and why I strongly believe in implementing it in your business. You've heard before, I'm sure many times, it's important to pay yourself first. And this is what this system does for your business. So this helps you make the transition from income minus expenses is your profit. So this is you getting whatever's left over in your business. And we flip that to your income, and we take your profit first, and hence the name of the book. And then what's left over is what you can have to cover your expenses in your business. It helps you get more focused on making different spending decisions in your business. And by saving for taxes as a percentage of your gross income, not your net, it breaks down a barrier that causes many business owners to not save regularly. And that barrier is it not being current on your bookkeeping. So a lot of people say, well, I don't know how much I need to save for September yet because I haven't done my bookkeeping and don't know what my profit is. And this breaks that barrier down because we're just saving based on your numbers, a percentage of your gross income in your business. The analogy that I really like in this book is around a tube of toothpaste. When you get a new tube of toothpaste, you're more generous with the amount that you apply to your toothbrush. When it gets down to the end, as I demonstrated earlier this week on one of those sample ones that you get from the dentist, you work really hard to get that last little bit out and end up using a lot less, but still effectively brushing your teeth because you're getting resourceful with your toothpaste. And the expense account is this analogy. So like if your expense account is lower than you would typically like to see it at a specific time of the month, you're going to get resourceful with how you spend those dollars. And I've personally experienced this in my business and really had my eyes open to how well it works. So two amazing people that I admire and provide great education for my business both put out programs like within 5 days of one another. And the first one came out like, oh yes, I'm in. And I signed up and was participating, going to participate in that program. And then another program was released by somebody different who I admire. I'm just like, can I do it? And I looked at the amount in my expense account and I'm like, I can do it, but by the skin of my teeth. And then I have to like change my spending a little bit for the rest of this month. So I really did get resourceful with it. So another way to look at it is to compare the smaller pots of money in your expense account to eating on smaller plates. So when you're trying to change your eating habits, smaller plates can help you adjust your portion, and Profit First helps you do this with your business spending. My system is similar, but I've made multiple tweaks. So I've made adjustments to make things easier for my life. And I want to encourage you to adjust and customize based on your needs. Every business is different. No business is one size fits all. And yes, the true profit first system can work in your business, but if it's causing you issues because it's not lined up with what your business income or how you work with your expenses, you just need to change it. Let's dive into the exact tweaks that I made. So I have all my business accounts at one bank. I did this because I don't feel tempted to use the money in my savings accounts, and it makes doing my transfers a whole lot easier. I also added a savings account for sales taxes. I did this because it helps me see if I'm on track with savings, because I compare it with my bookkeeping numbers. And full disclosure, this often leads to a sixth bonus because I oversave for these taxes a little bit too. I'd rather, in both situations, save a little more than I need than be worried that I don't have enough. I only do my transfers to my income account once a month on the last business day of the month. And really, the truth is, doing it once a month takes me half as much time as doing it twice. So why would I do it twice when I can only do it once? And it works for my business model. I pay myself bi-weekly instead of on the 10th and 25th. And I do this to match up with my husband's pay schedule. We have combined finances, and it's just easier to manage all of the income coming into the joint account once every 2 weeks versus me on the 10th and 25th and him bi-weekly. I also pay my business card, credit card off bi-weekly. It's how often I pay off our personal cards. So it's just easy to transition that into the business card as well. I also added an additional account. So I added a large expense account. This makes it easier for me to manage my monthly spending. So all of my monthly spending goes onto my credit card, and being able to pay that off with the money from my expense account, like my regular expense account, it allows me to like have separate money for large expenses that I'm making different decisions on. So I've got my my business expenses dialed in. I know basically how much every month on average it costs. So that's the amount I transfer to my regular expense account. But the percentage, I break down my percentage so that it's a little bit for my regular expense account and a portion for my large expense account too. It makes the monthly management easier. And for me, it makes sure that I'm not like spending the money that is going to be needed for like a new laptop, for example, or a larger investment in a course or coaching. It makes sure that my day-to-day business expenses aren't taking from that overall like bigger investment in my business. Because I have that large expense account, it allows me every quarter to pay myself the full amount in my bonus or profit account. So the recommendation to pay yourself 50% from your bonus account leaves that other 50% there in case there's a large business expense that you need to cover. But because I have that account, I'm able to pay myself that full bonus. And a recommendation to, when you're transferring that bonus from your business account to your personal account, quarterly means that it's not often enough that it's just going to cover some monthly bill or expense. But I recommend that you are intentional with that money. So when you transfer it from your business to your personal, think about like, what do I want to do with that money that's going to like bring you joy because you've worked hard in your business, and having that reward on the personal side is going to like encourage you to grow your business even more. Here's a quick little visual, just because I'm a visual learner and it helps me to see it mapped out this way instead of, let me see if I can move this. So the income goes into my account, into my business and income account all month long. At the end of each month, transfers from my business income go into all of these different savings accounts. So my sales tax and income tax savings account, my salary account, my bonus account, my business expense account, and I pay off my business credit card. At the end of each quarter, I pay myself my bonus and pay off any quarterly tax installments. And then payday is bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks, I transfer from my salary account into my personal account.
I have a question.
There's a lot going on, but it definitely, once you get it set up, it's easy to manage.
I have a question.
Yep.
I was trying to raise my hand, but I don't see it. when you talk about your expense account, you've got a small expense account and a large expense account.
Yep.
Like with the profit first method, like the percentage is like 30% of like whatever the income is goes to your expense account. Like, how are you separating the two? Do you have like an additional saving? Like you do have an account for your large spending, but how are you breaking down the money to kind of put into a large spending account? Because I know the percentages kind of equal 100% with
Yep.
the profit first. Like how does that work on
So
your
the way
end?
I do it actually is, so say my percentage has $1,000 going towards my expenses for the month. I actually have my overall business budgets that I know every month. It's approximately, I can't remember off the top of my head, but say every month it's about $500 on average for my business expenses. I
Uh-huh.
actually, so if the 30% is $1,000, I would put $500 into my small business expense account and $500 into my large business expense
Okay,
account. So say the
got
next
it.
month it's $2,000 going into my expense account, $500 would still go to the small expense account. So it's like, it's an overall expense percentage, but the small amount, because it's consistent, I make it an amount and not a percentage. Is that clear?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. And I know you're not shocked to hear this, but I have a spreadsheet that helps me. So I'm just going to share that spreadsheet now. So this is like a little bit simplified from what I use, because I do have other accounts that I'm not looking at here. So you can see why it's important to know how much you need to pay yourself. So in this situation, I've just thrown some random numbers in there. And like I said, we'll make sure that you have access to this so that you can put your numbers in and play around with them too. So in a situation where you need to pay yourself $3,000 a month and your business expenses average about $1,200 a month, your income tax percentage, and you can get this a few different ways. You can talk to your accountant or your financial expert. You can go on, for Canadians, I like to use the Wealthsimple tax to get an estimate. So you can go on here and calculate about what percentage you should be putting aside for your taxes. And you'll have to do a little bit of a calculation, because say you put in your income for the year and you're putting in your profit for the year and it's telling you what percentage your taxes are. Because we're pivoting this so that it's a percentage of your gross income, we're going to have to adjust this percentage a little bit. And then I put in here, they recommend starting with at least 1% for your bonus profit account, but do what feels good for you and what you can make work. And I like to encourage people to start with at least 2%. I think mine is at 5 or 6% now. So the whole goal of the Profit First system is to increase the amount that you're paying yourself through your salary and bonus, and decrease the percentage that you're putting towards your expenses. So this actually calculates the minimum amount that you need to make to cover all of these things. And then at the end of the month, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm typing in the balance that's in my business income account, the exact balance in my account. So again, there's no barriers that I don't need to know any other numbers. I just log into my business banking and I see how much is in my business bank account. I type that in and it calculates for me how much money I need to transfer to each of the different spending accounts. And we want this amount to be total to 100%. And this seems like I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but all I do in this situation is just adjust the percentages to see what makes sense. So the minimum amount that you need to do these things in your business is $5,530.56. So I just rounded it up to $5,600. And then these give you these percentage. So in this situation, it's fast forward 3 months or 6 months, and you still need to pay yourself $3,000 from your business. Your business expenses haven't increased, but you're at the point now, maybe you're making $7,500. Maybe that's what you cleared in your business in a month. And you can see how this allows you to get through like those slower periods in your business. So when you have those higher periods in your business, you're going to transfer the same percentage. So that gives you a little extra money that's going to sit in your income account. So you're still going to pay yourself your $3,000, but you're going to transfer $4,275 into your account. So that gets you that you're starting to build up that buffer in your account. And then if you start to see, okay, I'm making, like, my months are consistently like $7,500 now, that's my lower month. That's when you look at making an adjustment here on, okay, my average monthly business expenses are $1,200 a month, but I've been putting $1,575 into my account, my expense account, on those higher income months. Now you can get into it's the time period where you can reduce the amount, you can reduce the percentage going into your operating expense account, and you can increase your bonus or your salary, or kind of spread that between the two. And I know it can feel like a lot, but this is really just play with these numbers and see what makes sense to you based on your unique financial situation in your business and on your personal side. Does anybody have any questions? I know this is where it gets to feel like, oh, sure, it's too much, but I definitely think it's essential to make sure that you understand things. Okay, I just have a few more slides, which I'll go through fairly quickly because I want to leave a little bit of time if there's any more questions. So I already talked about the percentages. So the percentages that you're starting with now, they're your target allocation percentages. And these are the basis of the whole system and knowing your numbers. And because I showed it a little bit, I'm not going to go through a lot of it, and you'll have the slide deck to look at too. So I really encourage you to get started, start with the percentages that feel right, and adjust them as you see fit. So to get started, you need to have things we already talked about: your budget to know how much you need to pay yourself, your business expenses, and a starting point for your tax percentages. So it seems great, Sherry, but, and here are these things that stop us from implementing the system. Getting started can feel overwhelming for new or seasoned entrepreneurs. For the seasoned entrepreneur, the challenge can be getting the system up and going and implemented while still covering the personal and business expenses, because if you're full-time in your business, you still need to pay yourself on the personal side so that you're staying afloat there. For the new entrepreneur, especially if you're a side hustler, it can feel like even more work to add to your plate. So I want to emphasize that while it does take some time to get set up, it makes everything so much easier in your business as your business grows. So for a new entrepreneur, if you're new and you're not in a position where you need to pay yourself a specific salary from your business, I still encourage you to get the system set up and start paying yourself something, even if it's a small amount, and select to do the transfers less frequently to reduce the amount of time it takes. And at this stage, it's very likely that it's a really high percentage that's going towards your business expenses and going back into your business. And putting time in now may seem like it's unnecessary, but as your business grows, you'll definitely be glad that you did. For the seasoned entrepreneur, this can be a little more challenging. There's a lot more to getting started, but it's, again, well worth the effort. Getting started is all about finding balance between managing your personal and business expenses and starting your transfers. So having that clear picture is it's super important, and adjusting for a short period of time on the personal side will allow you to fully transition into the system and have it up and running a lot faster. So some tweaks that might make sense for you. It might make sense for you to also add a sales tax savings account, timing your business transfers to how you receive income in your business. So an extreme example is somebody who is a realtor. They receive higher commissions with breaks between it. So in this situation, sometimes I recommend, depending on how often there's closings, doing those transfers every time you get a commission, because that might be once a month or a couple times a month still. And paying yourself on what makes the most sense for your personal budget. So you've really got to know what makes sense and what you need to cover on the personal side. And one of the big things that I love talking about is knowing when to give yourself a raise. So for me, the indicator is more than 4 months of salary in my salary account. So usually at least every quarter, I do a quick calculation to see how much money is in my salary account and how long it will pay me for. I don't know where the 4 months came from. It's where I feel comfortable. So what this means is that if all income to my business stopped, I would still be able to pay myself that consistent salary for 4 months. And when I hit the milestone that I have more than 4 months, I give myself a raise. So between $50 and $250 raise is what I like to give myself biweekly, depending on what I know about what's coming down the pipeline in my business. So think about what your indicator or indicators will be for a raise. Okay, there were a few pre-submitted questions, which I think we already covered for the most part. Where should a new business be prioritizing spending? I think we touched on this a couple places, like where can you spend to make your life easier and help your business grow are the two things that I would recommend leading into. Best platform for taxes, payroll, currently using QuickBooks. I personally use QuickBooks. The nice thing that I love about QuickBooks is that QuickBooks professionals can log in with their own login and do the things that they need to do. And so their access is different. As a sole proprietor, I was told any money in my business brings in is considered income. So no need to pay myself on a set structure or payday. And I can transfer money anytime I need to my personal account. Would you recommend setting up a pay structure even as a sole proprietor, which I think we covered? I do recommend setting up that consistency and knowing what the right amount is to pay yourself depends on a lot of different factors in your business, what you need to pay yourself, how your business is doing. And while it is true, so if your income is $100,000 and you have $50,000 in expenses at tax time, you are going to get charged income tax. You're going to have to pay income tax on your profit. So on that $50,000, and it doesn't matter if you've paid yourself that $50,000 or if you've paid yourself 30 and 20 sitting in like your salary account. At the end of every calendar year, you're being taxed on the amount of profit in your business as a sole proprietor. And any other financial tips for newer businesses? Start getting the system set up with growth in mind. So when you're like, I'll just have a business account when, I encourage you to start a business account. And depending on what type of business you have, where you live, if you're a sole proprietor, it doesn't necessarily need to be a business account. It can just be a different personal account and different personal credit card that you use for your business until you grow. And then there becomes a point where it just makes sense based on your growth to move to an official business account. Okay. That was a lot. And I appreciate everybody for being here. And if there's any other questions, please ask away. I know that we're at time and I talked for most of it, but I appreciate the questions that have already been asked.
That was awesome, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Does anyone have any questions? Carly?
Hi. So I find for me, I personally love to plan. Like I will plan this really strong, for my finances. It's the follow through that I have a really hard time with. So I'll, as I said, I'll make this really great plan. I've got geared towards success. And then when it comes time for me to actually do it, I fall right back into my old habits. Do you have any suggestions, guidance, tools, tips, resources that you use when it comes to accountability in your finances, whether it's, starting something new or implementing something different?
And is there any specific things that happen that you find that create those barriers that have you like not following through with the plan?
Sometimes it's unforeseen circumstances. Sometimes it's just a matter of me getting busy and just falling right back into the old habit. Like, I don't even know if I could really target it down to something, but.
So it sounds to me like the missing piece of the puzzle is accountability. So when you've got this plan, the only person that you're accountable for is yourself. And if you don't do those things, there's no negative consequence, right? And it's crazy how much that accountability, and I find this myself, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And because maybe you'll ask me, maybe you won't. But if I don't have that, I'm much less likely to follow through. So finding some type of accountability through a peer or a fellow entrepreneur, and just be like, hey, we're going to do these things, and
Mhm.
let's connect and talk about, like, maybe it's like text back and forth. I'm going to do this today. Hey, did you do this today? Can provide a huge accountability. Or maybe it's time for you to invest in something like a coach, which honestly, so many of my long-term clients that I've worked with for basically since I started my business, the only thing that gets them to do those things is knowing, like, oh crap, I meet with Sherry tomorrow, I better do the thing. It's remarkably effective.
Perfect. Thank you.
Finding that accountability piece is going to help you with that long-term success.
Bree?
Yeah.
Quick question. Yeah, hi. I think for me, what's overwhelming is trying to figure out what like banks to go with, because there's so many, and just the whole thing about like fees and percentages and figuring out what works best for me. It's just too much information. So do you have any recommendations or resources on finding the best banking platforms to go with for your business?
And are you Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you have your personal bank accounts? Like, do you work with one of the like big banks for the personal side?
No, I have Simply, but I'm open to changing it because it sucks.
Oh, see, I'm a big fan of Simply. Simply was actually where I started having all my business accounts
Really?
initially, and they've recently added a few things that I like. Is that one of the drawbacks for me with Simply is that their debit card wasn't also a credit card, but that's now changed, and now you can actually automate recurring e-transfers, which is something that I really like. So not a plug for them, but I do like that. So like, does the scale of your business necessitate like having a separate business account, or are you like new in your business?
At this point, I need separate business accounts. I just registered for HST, so
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have my business bank accounts at Scotia, and the reason I decided to go with that is because that's where I have like our main personal like joint bank account, and it allows me to log in and see all at once, the business and the personal. But I know not all of the big banks are like that. There's actually a client I was talking to who, like, she actually has separate apps for her business and personal, even though they're with the same bank. So this is definitely something that the Canadian banking system has not done a good job of staying current with, like having an account that I don't have to go into a branch to sit down to open. Like, it's 2022. It took me an hour to go and open my business account. So knowing, like, I think RBC does have a more online bank account, but it's really, I got overwhelmed with this a lot too. Like, there's so many different options, and depending on the number of transactions. So because I invoice through QuickBooks and I invoice my clients either on the 1st or the 15th of the month, that means that I have very few transactions coming into my income account. But if you're doing a higher amount of transactions, that account is going to get a lot more expensive a lot faster. So it's knowing the number of transactions that you need to facilitate in your business. And then honestly, you can spend months and months looking at it. So if there's one that you find that feels like it's going to work, give it a try, because you can always change.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
If it helps, I'm with TD, and I have my personal and my business accounts, and I can just log into the TD app and see everything. I started with Tangerine, just a personal account because of no fees.
Yep.
But then when I incorporated, you have to have the proper business account, so I had to drop them. But Tangerine was good with no fees. So,
and honestly, like I have bank accounts at Tangerine, I have bank accounts at Simply, I have bank accounts at a lot of different places, and a lot of it is me trying things out. So if there's any, like, not necessarily the only big bank that I have an account at is Scotiabank, but the online players I have. So if you've got any specific questions about any of the online, like if you're looking for a personal account, just let me know, or you can message me after this as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure about going with business accounts, but then when I registered for HST, in a very small spot on the government website, it says that if you're going to start paying HST, even as a sole proprietor, you need to have a business bank account.
Oh,
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay.
funny.
I
They
read
took
that
my
too, but
money
I
out of a
ignored
Sim-
it.
funny, but they took my money out of a personal Simply bank account for a year and a half. So they'll still take your money.
Thanks, you guys.
Do you mind just repeating? You said at the end about sole proprietors and the taxes they pay. You said it really fast, and I was trying to take notes, and I think I missed something. So, as a sole proprietor, obviously we pay taxes on the profit. But if we are paying ourselves a salary, like, does that even matter in the grand scheme of things? Okay.
So
Okay.
the only thing that the government cares about is like, what was your profit for the year? And that's what you're paying taxes on.
Okay. So even if we're putting aside money for ourselves as salary, we're not paying taxes on that.
Correct.
Separate. Okay. Yeah.
There's no place when you file your taxes that it's going to ask like what you paid yourself. It's what came into the business and what went out of the business is all they're looking for.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Great questions.
Anyone else? Oh, Tasha does.
Oh,
Can
you're still
anyone
on
else-
mute, I think.
Tasha, I think you might be on. It doesn't show that she is, but I can't hear her.
Oh, there we go. The earbuds.
My AirPods.
There we
Can you
go.
hear
I can hear you now.
I don't know why that's weird. Okay. I was just thinking, so I was under the impression that when I paid myself from my corporation, I would then have to pay tax on that income from my personal taxes. That's not the case.
So what are you paying yourself through like regular payroll or is it a dividend?
No, just a dividend.
So then I'm not incorporated just yet, but so if you're paying yourself a regular like salary, they would be deducting all of the taxes on the corporate end before they paid you like you were an employee. But when you're paying, we're taking it out through a dividend, it is a little different. So there would be personal tax implications on that as well. So I just like touch base with your accountant and see, and like, depending on the frequency of the dividend, you could just be like taking a chunk of that and having that go towards saving for your taxes because you don't want to get caught not prepared for that on the personal side.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think we're good, Sherry.
Perfect. And yeah, if you have questions that come up or you have any like feedback or again, questions after you see like the slide deck or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm like email or Instagram Messenger is probably the best place for you to connect with me.
Awesome. Oh, I'm just seeing. Sorry, I'm just looking. Lots of great feedback in the chat. People are getting excited about the bees. All right. Well, I'll be sending out the replay as promised. So look out for that. And thanks again, Sherry. Next month, I'm actually the guest speaker all about Dubsado. So for anyone who uses Dubsado or is thinking about it, this one's for you. So very niched down. But okay, Sherry, I'll grab that stuff from you and I'll send out this replay very shortly.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.